Hi everyone, welcome back to Drone Novice. Today we'll be assembling our motors as well as attaching them to the race light LEDs. So our motor is a Emax Eco 2207 motor, which means that it is about 22 millimeters long, and 7 millimeters tall. So it's also a 2400 kV motor, which means that it is meant for 4-cell batteries, which is what we're going to use, a 4S 1300 milliamp hour LiPo. And to attach it to the frame, we'll be using blue loctite, which it helps the threads get in contact with the frame and stay there, and even during tough vibrations. And we'll be using the 4 millimeter screws that are provided with each motor. They come in packs of 5 screws, but we'll only be needing 4 since there's only 4 holes on our frame. It's mandatory to have only 2 screws in the frame, but we'll be using 4 just for extra security. And let's get started. So first we're going to apply the blue Loctite to our screws. So here we go, and so you just need only a tiny drop um, of Loctite, but here I just sort of spilled a lot, but that's okay. So we can just apply the remaining to the rest of the screws and reuse it since it comes in a really small package. So after we get all our screws um, coated in Loctite, what we want to do is put them on the frame, and we'll do that in a second. So now we're putting them on the frame. So what you want to do is align the wires coming out of the motor with the arm on the frame so that uh, we don't accidentally tilt it 90 degrees. And then we're gonna put the motor, align the motor holes with the holes on the frame, and then use our 2 millimeter hex screwdriver to screw in our screws coated in blue Loctite. So here we go, screwing in the first screw. And it's a good practice to have our first screw about pretty loose, because then we can adjust it, and then once we put in our second screw, you can tighten all the remaining to full capacity. And we're choosing the 4 millimeter screws because our frame is 4 millimeters thick. Our arms are 4 millimeters thick, and also if we choose screws that are too long that start to touch the windings, they can cause a short circuit and cause the motor to go up in flames, which is pretty bad. And now we're on our third screw. And now our last screw. So you want to make sure to keep them really tight so that they don't accidentally slip during flight due to vibrations. So now that we're done with our first motor, we're going to have to repeat that for the other 3 motors. And now with that, we're done assembling the motors onto our frame. Next, we're going to have to put on the CL Racing race LEDs, and we'll do that in just a few seconds. So now we're gonna solder the pads of this LED. So we just start with our soldering iron at about 400 degrees, and then we'll just put a tiny bit of solder onto the pads of the LEDs. And we'll do it on both sides so that it's just ready for next time because it's faster this way. And if it's still hot, don't touch it too quickly because you'll burn yourself. So we're just doing this for the other LEDs right now. Now that we're done with all of our LEDs, then we're gonna have to strip the wires of the motor wires to an appropriate length, and then we can get started. So first, we're gonna just put these to the side. And strip these motor wires. So for example, on this motor, we want the LEDs to be somewhere around halfway. So we're gonna have to strip the wires to a little, like a centimeter more than that length. And now we're gonna just take our wire strippers and strip the wires like approximately 1 centimeter. And now we're just gonna place the LEDs onto the frame. And if it's a little bit long on one side, you could just cut a little bit of the wire off and just repeat that so that you don't get any strands of the wires extra. And then first, before we solder the wires onto the LEDs, we have to tin them. So to tin them, we're just gonna take our solder and just touch lightly the solder and the soldering iron to the wire until it has a nice shiny coating. And then we're gonna place our LED onto our frame and use a pair of these tweezers to hold it so that when it gets hot, you won't get burned. And now that we're done with these, this one will repeat the same thing for the other three arms. Now we're done with attaching all our LEDs to our motors, so we hope to see you in the next video where we'll be attaching our LEDs to the ESC. Thanks and have a good day.